Okay, good. I think we can make a start, and away we go. So welcome to our webinar. We're going to focus on the fast-growing downstream chemical industry in KSA, with a little bit of a focus on Jubail, but not only Jubail. I'm Stephen Joseph. I'm your moderator for today. Unseen but vital in the background is Abdullah Doyan, who is ensuring that the webinar all runs technically, and also making sure your questions get routed to the correct person. I've been asked to introduce myself and then introduce your speakers for today. Just very quickly, I've worked for governments around the world. I've focused on economics, regional infrastructure, and citywide master planning, as well as new towns. One of the results of that global experience was being asked to judge and present the Global Urban Planning Awards for the World Leadership Forum in 2006 and 2007. Also for the UK government, I was the Deputy CEO of a partnership that oversaw EU's largest urban regeneration area. So a mix of new towns and some very old towns. For almost 10 years, on secondment from Bechtel, I've worked exclusively within the Saudi Royal Commission here in Jubail. I work alongside many of the speakers you have today. For those of you who don't know Jubail, it is a hidden gem on the global stage. It is the oldest new town corporation in continuous operation, and as such has achieved things that no other new town has ever achieved. The planning lifetime from start to full build out is over 70 years. We are only at Jubail's halfway point in this long time planning horizon. We also own all the land needed and have strong technical teams, and that has allowed Jubail to locate precisely the correct amount of land for a city center, housing, infrastructure, decades in advance. By doing so, Jubail is almost certainly the most engineered and efficient city in the world. A number of world firsts were set in creating Jubail. It was the world's largest single construction project. It has the world's longest causeway that gives our industry pipe and conveyor access to a deep water port. It has the world's largest seawater cooling system. Right, okay. So seawater, we got all the way up to seawater cooling. Anyway, we have for you our keynote speaker and 7 subject matter speakers. The Royal Commission covers all 3 speakers cover all 3 of the Royal Commission cities where we have downstream chemicals. So you have everybody here that has something to do with our chemical production. These include Jubail, Jazan, and Yambu. To give an overview of KSA downstream chemical progress and next steps, we have a well-known chemical industry consultant and also 2 private sector chemical companies active in KSA. So a tripartite of government, industry, and consultancy speakers for you today. I'll introduce each of the 7 subject matter speakers as we go, and following their presentations, I'll see online if you've posted written questions for them. If so, I'll be able to take 2 or 3 questions after each speaker. We'll also have a Q&A at the end. And you can, if you could, please indicate who your question is for. Use the post-it box on your webinar page to submit a question. If we can't take all of your questions in the live session, we'll follow up with the correct speaker to make sure that you do get an answer. We're going to try to end on time at 3 p.m. KSA time, so I might need to intervene occasionally. So without further ado, I'm really pleased to present our keynote speaker, who's also my embedded line manager. He is engineer Ahmed Hassan. He has a 16-year career with the Royal Commission. He has led on many of the spectacular engineering achievements I've described above. Ahmed has a master's degree in structural engineering from King Fahd University of Petroleum and Minerals. This university is only 100 kilometers up the road from where we are sitting now in Jubail. For those of you unfamiliar with our strong Saudi technical universities, King Fahd University's engineering departments are in the QS World Rankings in the top 150, with petroleum engineering in the top 10. West Coast RC cities also have strong academic institutions nearby. Ahmed is currently General Manager of the Royal Commission's Investment Development Department. Previously, Ahmed was the General Manager of the Royal Commission's Technical Affairs, covering all aspects of engineering, urban planning, and environmental control. Before that, Ahmed was the Technical Affairs Director of Engineering. So a real engineer's engineer, very, very familiar with everything that has occurred in Jubail and Ras Al-Khair. So over to you, Engineer Ahmed.
Okay, it's my pleasure to be with you. I will share the presentation first. Okay. I hope you can see the presentation. Please confirm.
Yes.
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
I can see it. Looks fine.
Okay, perfect. طيب. First of all, I thank all of you gentlemen and I'm so glad to be with you today. With this portfolio of talented, knowledgeable people talking about something which is extremely important for the kingdom economy. I thank our colleagues from Kearney Advanced Petrochemical Sadara course, and thank you, Stephen, for the kind introduction. I would like to highlight basic things in the beginning, something related to the history of the Royal Commission from the 80s or the early 70s, 1975 exactly, when was that vision and dream about transferring and diversification of the kingdom economy from oil-based to have other sources of income and sources of strength by going towards industrialization. Jubail at that time and its colleague in Yamba was a raw land. In Jubail specifically, it was a salty land, sabkha, which was not suitable for anything rather than to be suitable for an industrial city. However, this is what is 2020 is one of the actually the largest petrochemical industrial city in the world. This is took a journey of 45 years of good planning, focusing goal, and a lot of efforts to make it a high quality industrial infrastructure. On the other side, it has the complete environment. The Royal Commission was based on total management for the city and provided all the type of services which was needed to complete a complete environment to attract the investors. And they have a recipe there which was successful as a one-stop shop for the investor from all the aspects, from the land, the utilities, the environment, and the relationship between the investor and the other government agencies. In addition to that, education and healthcare and security in the same city, which give also on the other side a multimodal transportation model covering from the ports to highways to rail to pipeline corridors and conveyors, and it was built in that complete solution for the investors. I would like to highlight here that this achievement that the Royal Commission, when they, if we take Jubail as an example, which is 1,016 square kilometers, you will find it was based on a complete plan, and targeting a balanced development for the industrial city, which is Royal Commission. You can see that they spent it in all these years, the 45 years, approximately 70 billion, and was able to attract above 500 billion from foreigner and local investments, and exporting approximately 50 billion worth of goods every year, 133 million tons in quantities per year. We are talking about a massive amount of investment. Towards that, Jubail 1 was, for an example, Jubail 1 was able to achieve by itself 10% of the petrochemical commodities produced globally. On the other side, Jubail 2, the other part of it was based on utilizing that commodities towards downstreaming. For that, all of the focus of developing Jubail 2 was to downstream these commodities towards capturing more of value add and to increase the GDP and actually to attract a lot of employment, because we know, all of us, that downstream is the one which is create more of direct jobs and indirect jobs. Some highlights about the one of the major initiatives, which is the Blaskem Park. As I mentioned earlier, that Jubail 2 was based on downstreaming and in conversion. And we find it that this is needed to have a special recipe, different than the recipe which was in Jubail 1, which was successful, or with the primary industries, which is highly capital investment. For that, we created an initiative, the Royal Commission, called the Blaskem Park, to focus and to cater an extra incentives to those who will be coming there and who's targeting those downstream. Within the Blaskem shared services for downstream petrochemical investment, already there are an excellent existing today, an excellent world standard of integrated infrastructure, and in extra to that, a lot of services which we aim to add, and extra infrastructure to support the competitiveness advantages for those who specific investments which we are targeting there, which is, as I mentioned earlier, focusing in the downstream. A complete package from feedstock, customer, surface land, and advanced shared services will allow investors to concentrate in their core business. And this is my key message by focusing on that. Already we have an achievement in the Blaskem Park. We have already now approximately 35.7 billion Saudi riyals of capital investment have been committed, and in different phases in operation, construction, and in design, already allocated for 7 million square meters, and already they are aimed to generate 2,550 direct jobs, direct Saudi jobs. Delivery date for these investments which we are talking about is maximum by 2025, and some of this investment are already in operation, as many of you know, like Ravago and others. To highlight more about the Blaskem, the role of the Commission is to provide all these services, which is, or tapping to all of these services. There are an existing complete high quality road network, including the module bathes for any specific heavy oversized transportation, the traffic management, the rail network accessibility in the Blaskem, and nowadays the backbone of the rail network is in final stage of construction, and potentially the rail network are capable upon demand to be extended to that one. Of course, there are an airport and there are two mega ports exist, and potentially the airport we are depending on also, and we are in a very advanced stage in related to having the dual utilization for the airport. The wet utilities as an extra, which you can see it there. There are a seawater cooling, potable water, industrial wastewater, sanitary, irrigation water or recycled water, and there are of course storm drainage and accessibility to a complete pipeline corridor. Just you build the pipes for you, and to take from the primary industries to the industries who are focusing on conversion. In addition to the power and telecom, and the power accessibility is from high voltage to medium voltage to and the telecom for all the aspects of fiber optic FTTH high class end. Jubail and the Royal Commission in its cities are focusing in making the complete aspect for this Blaskem, and they take care now, and they are focusing on creating the park management and able to add extra things which was required in the past from the primary industries, like the combined security fence, like gas utility, gas networks, or fire waters, and other extra utilities which is to be required for the blasting, for having that initiative. I would like also to highlight that it's not only what is in the industrial land is also important to those type of the industries. Also to have an education facilities which can deliver a complete workforce for these industries is very, very important. On the other side, they require the outsourcing of R&D, applied R&D for that, and the Royal Commission is now building and expanding its Jubail University in addition to Jubail Technical Institute and Jubail Industrial College, to able to cater to that. Below the Jubail University, which is potentially for 18,000 students, which is under construction now, to be transferring it from the temporary location to the permanent location. There are an applied R&D park below it, which can cover a lot of the extra services which will be supporting the industry service. Of course, we have in the heart of the city nowadays. We know that this is different type of businesses which is require a lot of outsourcing, like consultation, accounting, marketing, and other soft skills. For that, Royal Commission have been ignited part of its plans, which is the permanent city center, which is a big city center in 275 hectares of land. There will be a complete city center, which is covering the other soft needs like offices, restaurants, retail, entertainment, and opportunities to match the industry maturity. These clusters of offices will allow a lot of outsourcing some of the services, like approximately 500,000 square meters of offices and other retail activities, which will be supporting such kind of downstreaming towards an end value ones. During the COVID-19, it's crystal clear that the Saudi government was focusing in supporting the industries. The role of the Royal Commission as the total management of the city, and they created a crisis management center, and they created a lot of committees like Sustainability Committee and others, which is ensured that a cohesion community dealing and reacting to crises and effects coming, unknown effects such as what we face together. The crisis management program in the city is one which is have been blessed with the government, and this is comes to support the industries. During that, even in the times when there was things like limit of access, limit of movement, Royal Commission played a major role for giving the permits and facilitating the permits for all the industries with under the guidance, under the umbrella of the Ministry of Industrialization. Glasgow. Really, Glasgow is ready for investment. As I highlighted earlier, that it has a lot of well-developed land, and we started to see some operation and some construction sites in that area, and there are a lot of commitments coming to the picture. On the other side, the Royal Commission is working hard to finish the plug and play utilities, which is already a major component of it, is already exists, and there are some leverages such as the fire water and the others like security fence, which is we are working hard towards providing these services, extra services, to be part of the park management, in addition to some warehouses and some logistic facilities. This is to show to you the gray and the yellow is how the house filled, and the remaining is the empty land which is you have. And it is there are something unique about this park, which is it have been clustered upon the need of the industries, because there are some lots there which have all the flavor of all the utilities, and some of the lots have the normal type of utilities, such as, and the difference between them is the seawater cooling, something like that, and some of the industrial wastewater, things which is very, very specific for this type of industry. No doubt, the vital and the very important enablement for the Blaskem to be exist is that whereas the feedstocks have been generated. Those are big titles actually, and we are very, very proud to have them as the barrels, which is this beautiful city and powerful city is established on. Our colleagues in SABIC, Aramco, with their joint ventures in with Total and Dow and Satrop and Sidara, Advance, it's a role model of an honorable investment, which is focusing in not only putting the base for the industrialization, also to support the downstream and the commitment. There are a big ambitious on them to provide the raw material, and I think there are a lot of commitments actually, not I think, I believe that there are a lot of commitments from them related to supporting the downstreams, which is have been clearly defined or demonstrated when they have asking for those downstreams to come. Actually, some of those downstreams are customers to those big names. No doubt that this is a major drivers. These availability of raw stock, raw material from those companies is very powerful drivers to get the downstream. Jubail, as an example of one of the largest petrochemical industrial city, or the largest petrochemical industrial city, is bonded by and integrated with the world's chemical and industrial clusters. diversification and downstream of the industry is very, very vital for Jubail to continue. It's not an option for Jubail to become to still in the commodity zone of the industries. And this is have two aspects actually. It's not only those downstream and conversion and downstream value-added industries, which is adding in the manufacturing process are they are important to be supported by the big streams, upper streams such as SABIC and others. It's also important to SABIC and to Aramco and to Total and Dow is to have those nearby them, because commodities has become a competitive market. Going to downstream is not an option, and you can see that each of this relationship, each part of this relationship have benefit from both of them. The competitiveness is the competition are around the world from all the areas which is our goods are going there, such as Europe, China, Canada, US, Japan, Far Asia. All of them are utilizing our products, and they have their own parks. And if we did not come into the next mountain tip after we succeeded to be pioneers and in the top of the chain related to commodities, we need to go to take the place which is we deserve as one the largest petrochemical city, as part of the Saudi Arabia diversification initiative for the country. We need to take the leading position related to downstream. In conclusion, Royal Commission have and always be a proactive strategic partner in helping you to invest, no doubt about that. And we succeeded in the past, and we want to succeed in the future. We are aimed to be that great partner with you. Contact us and let us work together in your ideas and proposals. Do not hesitate about that, because Royal Commission aim is to establish and maintain the great environment for you to invest with. We want you to have a happy experience. We are showing today Glasgow opportunities in Jubail as well as opportunities in Yanbu and Jizan and Royal Commission cities, which is also have the same ambitious and focus with different flavors in all of these cities. They are also there are also non-petrochemical opportunities in all RC cities. Logistics, even minerals, and applied R&D, all soft and main core business in petrochemical are available opportunities. It is a complete environment which is ensure our competitive advantage against other competitors. We would like to show you our brand new Glasgow 5 minutes video, and kindly Steve or Abdullah Al-Eid can to open the
Okay.
video.
Thank you, Engineer Ahmed. That was a fantastic introduction. I would like to mention one thing that Ahmed has been intimately involved with professionally over the last 16 years with the Royal Commission, which is one of the world's firsts, which was cut off when I was speaking initially. And that is Jubail is the largest city in the world with no traffic congestion. It's all been engineered out, and it will not occur over a 30-year period into the future because of the very tight engineering of land use and transport infrastructure that fits together. We do have a question come in about what is the targeted investments for Plaschem, but I think I'll hold that question until after Jose presents, because some of those answers are inside that presentation. But over to you, Ali, to run the Plaschem video.
Petrochemicals and polymers are among the world's most versatile materials. As the largest cluster of internationally traded chemical production in the world, Jubail Industrial City now aims to be the leading location for advanced downstream producers in a groundbreaking development, Plaschem Park. Plaschem Park offers petrochemical and polymers producers new levels of support and outstanding value throughout setup and operation. Not only does it benefit from Saudi Arabia's highly competitive utility costs and rents, but its central position in Jubail Industrial City will also enable it to offer reliable feedstocks and reduced operating costs that will transform the nation's downstream petrochemical industry. With access to over 4.5 billion consumers within 4 time zones of Riyadh, Saudi Arabia is at a strategic crossroads. The large markets nearby, which are not major producers of petrochemical products, can be quickly reached via the kingdom's well-developed transportation infrastructure, including advanced ports and airports, extensive road system, and a fast-developing rail network designed to give manufacturers easy access to local, regional, and international markets. As part of the nation's 2030 plan, benefits are offered to investors to help diversify Saudi industry, encourage inward investment, and grow long-term GDP. The KSA government and private institutions offer investors Sharia-compliant funding at competitive rates. The kingdom has one of the lowest corporation tax rates in the world, just 20%. There is no taxation until the company is profitable and no personal income tax. 100% repatriation of profit is permitted. Over the last 5 decades, the kingdom has undergone a major push to diversify industry away from dependence on oil and gas. The Royal Commission for Jubail and Yanbu is at the forefront, successfully developing 4 industrial cities which are pushing the frontiers of Saudi industry. At over 1,000 square kilometers, Jubail is the world's largest industrial city. It contributes over 4.5% of Saudi Arabia's non-oil GDP. It is home to the world's 4th largest petrochemical company, SABIC, and some of the world's leading producers. Investors in Plaschem Park will enjoy the advantages of Jubail Industrial City's advanced utilities infrastructure and dedicated industrial and commercial ports. Home to over 200,000 residents, the city is continually developed to improve quality of life. Mardhuma Bay, the new economic center, will become a hub of excitement with high-end shopping, fashionable apartments, and aspirational meeting places. It will offer a vibrant and healthy waterside lifestyle. Talent is emerging from local colleges, and the city has already attracted staff from over 40 countries. Within the Jubail 2 industrial area, Plaschem Park is purpose-built to accommodate downstream petrochemicals companies. It has been designed to offer integrated value chains, enhanced connectivity, and shared services to enable cost-effective manufacturing. Products never before manufactured in the kingdom will be produced, decreasing reliance on imports and growing GDP. To take advantage of its proximity to the large feedstock providers in Jubail Industrial City, a highly efficient, state-of-the-art pipeline network has been designed to supply vital feedstocks direct to investors' boundaries. Steam, seawater cooling, chilled water, industrial gases, power, ICT, and many other utilities will also be plug-and-play. The park offers opportunities for investors to work together to cut costs, such as sharing a multimodal logistics hub instead of building their own. Plaschem Park has also built a range of amenities that investors normally have to construct themselves. High-security fencing, warehousing, waste management, and office space for management staff, reducing setup and operational costs across the board. Plaschem Park will also create organizations to provide support in key areas such as IT services, energy capture and transfer between investors, maintenance and repair operations, HSE and emergency services, smart safety solutions. Plaschem Park supports 3 manufacturing areas: formulation, conversion, and organic synthesis. From cosmetics to cooking utensils, toys to tires, soaps to sofas, diapers to detergents, and polishes to paints, there are endless opportunities for investors to produce in Saudi Arabia for the first time. For investors, unrivaled facilities, a wide range of feedstocks, inexpensive rent and utilities, and shared services offer extraordinary opportunities to build business. Plaschem Park's commitment to new levels of value will help to unlock the potential of the nation's resources and write a new chapter in its industrial history. Plaschem Park, the new value equation.
Thank you, Abdullah, for running the Plaschem video. Our next speaker is a absolute expert, technical expert in Plaschem, and you'll get a deeper dive into Plaschem with Jose. He's a partner at A.T. Kearney, and he focuses on energy and process industries. Jose has over 30 years experience working in chemicals, oil, gas, and utilities. Over the last 10 years, Jose has participated in the Kingdom's largest chemical and plastic downstream initiatives, including planning our own Plaschem Park here in Jubail. Jose holds a Master's of Science degree in Industrial Engineering from the University of Ramon Llull in Barcelona and an MBA from the University of Navarra. He has published numerous articles and is often quoted in leading technical and economic publications. So thank you, and over to Jose.
Thank you, Stephen, and thank you all the attendees for taking part in this seminar. So I will spend the next 10 to 15 minutes to try to frame why we are doing all this about growing in downstream chemicals, and I will explain what means downstream chemicals in the whole chemicals value chain, and then I will move to explain what we are doing to grow in downstream chemicals, especially in organic synthesis and formulation and conversion in Saudi Arabia. So that's why we call this 10-15 minutes expanding formulation and applications capacities, because we think that is what we have to do now in the growth of the petrochemicals and chemicals business in Saudi. So this picture, this slide shows you the whole petrochemical and chemical value chain from feedstock to end applications. And as Ahmed mentioned, so we have had a fantastic success over the last, I would say from the end of the 70s, 80s, or the last 40 years in making Saudi Arabia a global leader in petrochemicals, and some of the companies in Saudi are actually top of the list in some of the molecules. But now it takes is the time to expand. It takes I would say not hopefully not 30 years, but it's in the last decade we have been focusing on expanding the downstream applications. So we have some global scale capacities of what we call organic synthesis, so the N+1 molecules. But it's only 10 years ago that we started to really focus on formulation and conversion applications in the kingdom. So same sector, but it is different segments, and those different segments have different requirements. And so drivers and key factors, yes, are the same. So it's all about raw materials, cash cost versus total cost delivered. But the focus of what we have done so far and the focus of what we have to do going forward is different. So in petrochemicals and basic derivatives, as you have in the bottom of this page, the focus is very much about the feedstock price, the capex, all the services are ISBL. So we have plants, we have companies that have a scale to cater themselves for all the services that need ISBL. And OSBL is very much limited to the connections to the logistics infrastructures. Also, the logistics, the supply chain is very much one way, is from plant to port, from port to export. And technology is understood like licenses and process improvement in those large capacities. As we face the growth in the downstream formulation and conversion, and key drivers are the same, but the focus is different. So it's not anymore about CapEx. So CapEx plus OpEx is more important. It's about having the right monomers available. And we had a lot of what we call molecular gaps the last 10 years. So there were some downstream applications that we couldn't develop in the kingdom because we didn't have the monomers. We didn't have the raw materials for doing so. Another big difference is the focus on the services. It's smaller plants in downstream. You have investors, individual companies that don't have the scale to cater themselves for other services. So the model is much more shared services. The model is much more OSBL, including logistics services. So the plant-to-port pipe racks of the petrochemicals becomes in the downstream more packaging, ISO containers, different type of logistics. And also technology is different. It's not anymore about the licensing and the process improvement. It's much more about the recipes. It's much more about technical assistance. It's a different type of technology and technical capabilities, which is what we are trying to reflect here. So it's not only the focus, but also the competences and the requirements change as we go downstream in the chemical value chains. So formulation, conversion industries are much more integrated. I mentioned the shared utilities, so service utilities, the packaging, but also things in the operations like how do you plan and schedule. So we are talking about tailoring production, batches, switches of the formulations. So totally different. And also, most importantly, talent is also different. So technical assistance is crucial. We have to be very close to our clients. We have to tailor the products that we sell. And for that, we need different labs, technical capacities, technical assistance capabilities. So once again, different businesses in the same sector. And why we are getting to all this complication is because, as Ahmed mentioned, the added value grows dramatically as we go downstream. So we started in the 70s, 80s to monetize stranded gas with crackers. If you go from the feedstock, from the crude oil or from the gas to the basic petrochemicals, you may be adding 7 times the value. Instead of exporting the crude of the gas, you put it in a petrochemical plant, you get 7 times more value, more margin. If you go downstream, that factor, that multiplier goes up to 17, 20%, depending on the portfolio. And the other reason is that we do want to generate employment. We want to develop not only the petrochemical sector in the Saudi Arabia, but also the Saudi society. And the intensity of job creation is also multiplied by 7 to 20 as we go downstream. So those are the 2 reasons by which going downstream is simply mandatory. And it's also not an option because Saudi companies have become global leaders in some of the monomers. So it is, I would say, the next natural step is not with the same companies, but with other companies, or maybe with the same companies in some of the chemical in the chains, in the molecules. We need to step up and become also global leaders in those downstream industries. So it is all set up for us to replicate the success of the last 3 decades. Now, in the past decade and probably in the 20 years coming forward, or even faster, because businesses, technologies have accelerated everything. In the next 10 years, we can and we have to replicate that success that we had in petrochemicals in the downstream industries. Looking back, so I said that we have been working on this for the last decade. And it was very much Royal Commission and some of the shareholders, stakeholders in Plaschem were the engine of this. So we are not idle and we have had some success so far. So this, what you see in this page is what we presented already in the last Saudi Downstream Forum back in 2016. And by then, we already reported significant progress in some elements of this downstream growth, specifically on the selection of the portfolios. So we already defined what targets we wanted to grow, organic synthesis, formulation, conversion, even making clear what type of molecules, what products we wanted to attract to produce in the kingdom. And we also made a huge development in the operating model. So what Ahmed described as the current status of the Plaschem Park is what we started almost 8 years ago with Royal Commission, with SABIC, with Aramco Sadara, in this origination, in this ideation of the Plaschem Park that is becoming a reality as we speak. So from here, on top of this, what we have done in the last 3-4 years, I think that is quite significant in terms of accelerating localization of downstream industries. I would like to highlight 3 dimensions in which we have done significant progress. The first one is the maturity of the infrastructures and the operating models. So as Ahmed mentioned, we have to offer now as a reality in Jubail a plug-and-play model, with Sadara Value Park being the first plot, and with plot 11 already fully designed and being developed. So any investor of downstream industries that wants to come to Jubail can come to us tomorrow, and we do have a place where we will give coordinates and we will give services. So we have a place where medium-sized and small investors of formulation and conversion can come and plug and play their units and start operating. It's not only that we have that available, it's that there is some success in that direction already. Some landing of the first players has already taken place. And I put there as an example the EOPO derivatives investments that were announced, I think it was like October, November last year, so that are happening as we speak. Also, very good progress since 2016 in the implementation of the operating model. So we were at that time looking for a park operator that we have already for Sadara Value Park, and I guess that the speakers from Sadara will give more detail on that, but that is already a reality today. So we have a professional park operator that is concentrating all the services that the smaller tenants are looking for, and that is already available as well. The second dimension where we have done a significant progress in the last 4 years is availability of the monomers and new capacities of the basics and derivatives coming on the stream. There were many molecules that we were missing 5 years ago, 6 years ago. So when someone asks us why this is taking so long, why you guys were not successful in Plaschem, I always argue that we are being successful, that it's not an overnight success. So I said it took us 30 years to be global leaders in petrochemicals, and it will take us probably a couple of years more to ramp up these downstream parks that are related today, but that we are still populating and growing. For that, monomers availability was vital, was a key success factor. And with the capacities that Sadara has already commissioned, with the announcements of Advance, Amiral, I think that we are going to be probably globally advantaged in a number of chemical chains. Sadara will most likely elaborate more about the EOPO, but I think that the other investments that I mentioned here and some others that you are aware of are unlocking the potential of C3, C4 derivatives where we were quite constrained because of monomers availability and scale, and that is not an issue anymore. The third dimension where I think that we have done a significant progress is how we are approaching downstream industries. In the past, and when we started with Plaschem back in 2012, we were thinking about attracting individual investors. And we very soon realized that in downstream is not about individual investments, it's about clusters, it's about subsectors. You have to attract the whole set of the investors within a subcluster. You have to create what we call the ecosystem. And we have done quite a progress there. Actually, there are some of the local content programs that are focused on the working in that direction, and I will give an example in the next pages. So 3 I would say, 3 radical improvements that have happened in the last 3-4 years that are behind the success that we are having in the landing in, investors and growing the plastic parks as we speak. Another thing that we have done is we promised that we would implement a full set of services, and we defined the mandatory services for any tenant landing in Plaschem. We defined also optional services, and we defined value-added services. Again, this is not going to happen overnight, so we have many of these mandatory and optional services already available. The value-added services will come as we populate the parks and as we have synergies and efficiencies based on the scale, based on the occupancy of the park. But many of the services that are listed here are the ones that Ahmed mentioned as already existing in the Plaschem Park. So we have fulfilled our promise of putting in place the services, the operating model that the downstream investors are requiring from us, and we continue working on this. And again, I think that Sadara Valley Park will give more detail, but we are really proud and satisfied of the progress so far. And in the discussions we are having now with medium-sized investors, we realize that compared to 5-6 years ago, we understand what they need, and we are able to put in place services at a cost that is competitive to them. Talking about not only pipe racks and seawater cooling, which is the petrochemicals approach of the past, but we are talking about steam, we are talking about logistics services, we are talking about MRO. I mentioned this already, so Sadara Valley Park is ready, is already landing investors, but also for plot 11 and for the rest of Plaschem, we defined a modular approach. We know that we have to be this chicken and egg, so I need to have the services, I need to have the infrastructures, but for that, I need to have off-takers, I need to have investors. So it's a phased approach. Actually, we defined 3 phases, and we defined also this module that is the minimum scale is around 400 hectares. Sadara Valley Park is a little bigger. Here we can land around 25 to 40 investors depending on the type of business. And in this plot 11, in this plot we are landing only organic synthesis and formulation. So north from Sadara Valley Park and north from plot 11 and plot 10 is where we are hosting the converters. So behind the whole design of Plaschem, there is a logic also of flows in the downstream business. So from the feeders, Satorp, Sadara, Amiral, to the organic synthesis, from the organic synthesis to the formulation, from the formulation to the conversion. So that is not only designed, as you can see here, but implemented and ready for investors to come and receive the services in this way. You see an area of shared services. You see also areas that are designed for common logistics, marshalling areas, connection to the logistics multimodal. You see an area of administration buildings, central labs, fire brigade, security access, and then you see the plots allocated for the investors for the manufacturing of the different molecules and the chemicals. So this is already done, something that we were planning 5 years ago. This is reality today. And then last, and I will close with this, I think that also a source of success has been this different mindset in the approach to the market. So the local content initiatives, clustering investors, and bringing to the market the offer of attracting the whole sector, the whole ecosystem. So not only manufacturers, but also the raw material suppliers, the equipment manufacturers, the service providers specific to the sector is something that we were not playing properly and that we are doing now very successfully. Here we are showing what Nusanet, which is one of the local content initiatives, is contributing with. And this is an example specifically on elastomers. So elastomers, paints and coatings, adhesives, construction materials, those were the clusters that we were talking about for years. And it is now with this approach that we call it the accelerator. We're accelerating success in the attraction of these industries by bundling investors in this way. We talk the language of the elastomers players now. We know who is who in the kingdom. We are connecting small converters with blenders, with manufacturers of blends. We are connecting them also with technology resources, with the Rubber Institute run by Royal Commission in Jambu, with technology providers from abroad, and this is proving to be tremendously successful. So this is probably the element that we were missing to translate the requirements of the specific investor into the requirements of a sector, and then localizing sector by sector the chemical downstream industries. I am open to questions, but the message I wanted to pass is double-folded. This is not an option, this is mandatory, and it is not that we were not successful, it is happening. It's simply that it's not that easy. And again, it took us many years to be leaders in basic chemicals. It's taking us some time to become leaders in downstream industries, but inshallah we'll get it there. So we are doing well so far. And second is there's everything in place. So we have been working hard over the last 5 years to put in place all these 3 improvements that I was mentioning that we think that are more than sufficient to ramp up the downstream localization. So in summary, we do see a bright future ahead, inshallah, for the downstream industries in Saudi Arabia. Gentlemen, you in this webinar as potential investors and partners in this development are invited to reach out to us with questions, but I can assure you that all that you need, we think that is in place already. And well, with Plaschem, Royal Commission, and with the local content initiatives that I was describing, I think that we have all the elements in place to get that there. Back to you, Steve, and open to questions from anyone, either now or at the end of the session. And thank you, everyone.
Perfect. Thank you, Jose. Well, we have one question which maybe you can build on what you've presented, and that is what type of industries are targeted in Plaschem? Is there anything you'd like to add to answer that question?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, we have segmented the Plaschem development in three areas. One is organic synthesis, the second one is formulation, the third one is conversion industries. The organic synthesis is the medium-sized capacity that will receive the building blocks from the petrochemical facilities. And yeah, we're talking about the capacity that could be as low as maybe 5,000 tons, 7,000 tons, up to 50,000 tons per year, something like that. Yeah? So we're talking about MBR, we're talking about EO derivatives, ethoxylates, we're talking about this type of molecules. IPA, PAM in the C3 chains, so this type of molecules. We could be thinking about ACN as well, but ACN has been already announced in Amiral, so that will come through the pipeline. But ACN derivatives as well would land there as well. We designed with Plaschem, with the Royal Commission, a list of 90 molecules that we wanted to land, and I showed a short list of those molecules. But we have estimates for each of them on the land requirements, capacity at the global scale, initial estimate of capex, and some market screening. In organic synthesis, typically, I would say it's a established local player that has the technology or that can bring the technology, but we think that that is a segment that is quite defined. Yeah. So we don't. Then the formulation area is much smaller industries. So it is, if you think of producing the monomers in the organic synthesis, in the formulation area would be the elastomers players, the adhesive players, the paints and coatings players would be landing there. Smaller capacities, different type of services. And then the conversion area is more for plastics. It's more for injection molding, blow molding, extruders, this type of activities. So no limitation in terms, answering your question, Steve, no limitation in terms of scale because we have areas for each segment. And but not a petrochemical plant. So more starting in organic synthesis.
Thank you, Jose. Yeah, it's an excellent answer to, and in fact, I've already been told by the asker. Thank you very much. So excellent. I'm going to move on to our next speaker, who Fares Al-Zarani. He is from a private sector firm, Advanced Petroleum Company. And Advanced has been in production since 2006, and it's now one of the major players in the petrochemical industry across the Middle East and North Africa. But Fares is a senior business planner with Advanced. He specializes in petrochemicals. Previous to Advanced, Fares worked with SABIC in the technology management departments and focusing on polystyrene, polyvinyl chloride, and polypropylene. Fares holds an engineering degree from Vanderbilt and a master's degree in engineering from Duke, both, of course, USA universities. Over to you, Fares.
Thank you, Stephen, for the introduction. Is my voice clear? Hello?
It's clear, but a little faint. Maybe there's a way, Abdullah, you can ramp it up a little bit.
Okay, because I'm joining through the phone. I just want to make sure before I start the presentation that the voice is clear. Okay. So
kindly raise your voice.
Okay, excellent. So thank you, Stephen, for the introduction, and thank you for giving us the opportunity to Royal Commission that Advanced. We are here to tell our story, to share with you who we are, what we do, and how we are supporting the downstream industries. This is an excellent platform arranged by Royal Commission to support us also in connecting with the upstream and the downstream and the integration across the supply chain with the Jubail industry. So thank you for arranging that. The presentation and the intention from this presentation is really to give you light about Advanced, what is Advanced, and also to share with you growth projects that will ensure monomer availability, something that already addressed in the previous presentations. And hopefully through the presentations, you will be able to see how we are leveraging our core strengths in advancing the KSA downstream industry. Next slide, please. So we are very, very proud, alhamdulillah, with the advancements that we have done in our safety culture. And this is a testimony, the record that we have achieved this year is a testimony of the robustness of the safety culture. This year we have achieved 17 million safe man hours. And for our size, this is almost 11 years of safe operations. In fact, just last month, we achieved the 12th year of safe operation. This is really not possible without the commitment from all of our employees to safety culture, and also the enablers for this is the management supervision and encouragement for all of our employees to report on unsafe conditions, unsafe behavior that may lead to higher class incidents. It's so critical for business continuity to stress on how safety is so critical for Advanced. And I believe this is one of our core strengths within Advanced petrochemical industry. An additional enabler for such an excellent safety culture within Advanced petrochemical is the Advanced Integrated Management System, which is in the next slide, and the strong adherence by all employees to Advanced Integrated Management System. And what it is essentially an integration of multiple management systems: the quality management system, the environmental management system, the information security management system, and the occupational health and safety management system. They're all integrated seamlessly under one big umbrella and one big management system, what we call AIMS. And it's so critical for us to ensure our business continuity and the sustainability of the business, and also to give us a way to protect our environment and the business we are working. We continuously improve our management system AIMS to ensure the sustainability of the business and the strength of our organization. Alhamdulillah, this excellent performance in safety and quality and the organization overall performance have been recognized globally, as you can see from the next slide. have been recognized by the UK National Examination Board of Occupational Safety and Health. We have been awarded the ROSPA Golden Category Award for Health and Safety for 6 years in a row, 2015, 16, 17, 18, and 2020. And alhamdulillah, this is also another testimony of the safety culture that we adhere to here within Advanced. Additionally, we received the International Star Diamond Award by the Spanish Bid Group, and we also were the second place in terms of environmental performance in the primary industries within Jubail Industrial City, and we were the Arab Best Organization and one of the top MEED awardees in the past years. This excellent accolades and global recognition that we receive is also, there is a secret behind it, and there is an adherence, a strong adherence to advanced core values, as you see in the next slide. The most important foundational value of our core values that we instill among our peers, among our selves, and we are continuously reminded and encouraged by our management to keep this in mind. Number one, and the foundational one, is the foundational core value is transparency. And with transparency, we are encouraged, even from our management, to give constructive, positive feedback and speak up our mind during meetings and within our peers, because only then we will be able to create the team spirit that is necessary, and then we're able to hear each other out. When we are able to do this, we attain the next core value, the next step in the core value, which is the team spirit. And so critical that transparency or team spirit builds on transparency. And it is understood within the organization that only then, when we are transparent with each other, we're able, as a team spirit, we're able to sacrifice our individual needs and rather focus on the team, the department, or the overall organization needs. And this way, we are able to celebrate the achievements regardless of the differences of opinions that we may have, because we focused on the long-term objective of the organization. And with the team spirit, we're able to speak candidly with each other and also attain to the most important one of the core values, which is the continuous improvement, which is a really dynamic environment here within Advanced, and it's embedded, a core value embedded within the organization, this continuous improvement. I can tell you there are KPIs on department, there are KPIs on individual level to continuously improve the business, bring new ideas to fine-tweak the business processes, do things differently, always challenge the status quo. And it's so important for our core values, because that will help us in serving our customer. That is the customer care core value. It will help us to serve our customer, whether be it that customer internally or be it externally. Internally, I mean across departments, or for our employees, or externally across the supply chain, from supplier all the way to the customer end. And we are proud of the culture of excellence that we strive to on a daily basis, and that is the highest and most important core value, the excellence core value. And that is always strive for us to achieve, and it's a culture of excellence which we attain to. And that is when we do things right the first time and deliver on our commitment to our customers. The next slide gives you a glimpse for those who may not know Advanced closely. As you know, some of you know, Advanced is a publicly listed company listed in the Saudi stock market, and started its commercial operation in 2008. We have a share capital of $577 million with a market capitalization of $3 billion, and that has been hovering around $3 billion over the past years. Total manpower, we have 400 talented and hard worker employees with a Saudization rate of 75%. And Advanced, the next slide gives you a plant overview of the 2 plants that we currently operate. We take propane from Aramco, we dehydrogenate the propane in the PDH plant using the CATOFIN technology. And a note on this PDH plant, Advanced is considered a global benchmark operator of the PDH plant. And this is a testimony of our operational excellence, which has allowed us, we leverage this type of core strength to support our joint venture in Korea, which I'll speak to shortly. The PDH plant capacity, nameplate capacity is 455,000 metric tons of propylene, and all of this amount is captively used for the PP plant. With our operational excellence, we definitely produce more than 455 KTA, given the excellent operability of the plant and the operational excellence we strive for internally. The whole propylene used for polymerization and the Novoline technology for the PP plant that we use the Novoline technology, and all the propylene produced are served to our local customers and some are exported. And it's important to note that this 450 KTA you see on the screen, this is the nameplate capacity. We are enjoying the supply chain synergy that we have in Jubail Industrial City and the synergistic opportunity that we have with Satorb and other local suppliers of propylene. So we are in a medium-term contract with Satorb for additional supply of propylene, as we have really introduced and improved in our production of PP plant over the years, and you can see that our actual production is higher than 450 KTA, as this is a nameplate capacity. And part of our enjoyment in Jubail Industrial City as an occupant and a producer in this city is the utilities and common facilities that are available for all residents, all operators in Jubail. And we are really appreciative of that. We take power from the Saudi Electrical Company. We also take nitrogen from gas, a neighboring company, and the utilities, we also take it, the utilities being water and the water treatment are handled by Marafiq. And this is an excellent infrastructure for the petrochemical industry, and I'm sure it will be applicable and will be supported downstream as well. And it's important to note that this excellent and operational excellency has led to a strong financial performance, as you see in the next slide. There is operational, there is, as I mentioned, the robustness and safety culture, the excellent operational of excellence, and our strive for culture of excellence and our commitment to continuously improve the business. Our commitment to challenge the status quo, to be different, differentiate ourselves, has led to, as you can see that from the net income, has been improving over the years, and the past few years has been hovering around $200 million US, and the revenues is around, in the past years, around $700 million US. Our vision is to be a growing chemical company acting responsibly toward all stakeholders. And you can see from the net income here, we're doing our little best to increase our, to be a growing chemical company, and we're increasing our net income over the years. And with the new investments, with the new support from other facilities, we will, inshallah, further grow the company even further in the future, and without compromising in our mission. And that will be, as it is, providing quality product for our professional work environment that really builds on the culture of excellence. Next slide, please. Next. The important story to share with you here is, given the operational excellence we have achieved in the PDH plant, we have also supported our joint venture in SK in Korea, South Korea, and we went in a joint venture with SK being one of the biggest conglomerates in Korea, and SK Gas and Advanced, and this is where the name came from, built a PDH plant in Ulsan, Korea with a 600 KTA. We supported that joint venture from project execution project commissioning and during the engineering phase. And we also supported during the startup phase. And we continue to support the business because one of the major highlights to highlight is the PDH plant is a really type of unique technology that we have really played a key role in attaining an operational excellence. And we're leveraging this core strength in advancing the downstream. As you can see from the next slide, which the next coming slides are addressing the investments that we are making in Jubail Industrial City, leveraging the strengths that we have. So one investment we have already announced, which will ensure availability of additional specialized raw material in the future, inshallah. The PDH plant capacity, it's an integrated PDH polypropylene project, and it will be housed in Jubail Industrial City 2. The PDH plant has a nameplate capacity of 843,000 metric ton per annum. And we are using for this technology, CATOFIN technology, which we have announced recently. For the polypropylene plant, our target is to have, we have signed an agreement for 800,000 metric ton per annum. And there will be two trains. One is using the latest and most advanced spherical technology, and the second train will be using the latest and most advanced Spherizone technology. The purpose and the objective is to make specialty polypropylene grades in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, inshallah. And with those production, as you can see from the next slide, with those specialty polypropylene, we are extending and expanding our product portfolio in the polypropylene business. So we will be able to make high performance homopolymer grades, and we will be able to make specialty random copolymer, specialty impact copolymer grades, and terpolymer grades, which is really a niche type of polypropylene. And this will allow us to go into industries that we are not, or serve new customers in the kingdom that we are yet to be serving. And there will be grades, unique grades that are of quite high demand these days, that are typically used in face masks, some of you know. And there will be grades that will be serving the medical applications, and there will be specialized pipe grades for the downstream industry, inshallah. And moving to our additional investments in Jubail Industrial City, is we are building on our Vision 2030 and the National Industrialization Strategy to have the automotive hub in Saudi Arabia. And as part of that, and we understand also Jubail, inshallah, has all the available raw material, petrochemical raw materials, and additional important raw materials close by to support the automotive industry in Jubail. So with that, we are having an investment in polypropylene compounding to be in Jubail that will utilize specialized material from upstream of our PP plant. And those polypropylene compounding facility will make it, will support and will provide the required raw material for the automotive applications in terms of polypropylene compounds. Those, they go into different applications, interior and exterior, and as you can see from this slides, and there are also can be used in the bumper applications, and this is all to support Jubail being an automotive hub and having and attracting the automotive cluster and all parties interested to come to Jubail for manufacturing cars, inshallah. Moving to the third additional investment of what we are making is the isopropyl alcohol. That will be Jubail Industrial City, utilizing material from the PDH plant that we have spoke to you earlier about, the new PDH plant. And the intention is to replace imports. And as you can see from this chart, from 2012 to 2018, the IPA, which is used in hand sanitization and disinfection, have been imported on roughly around approximately 10,000 metric tons annually. We did not include in this slide 2020 because I expect in 2020 the number is much higher than 10,000 metric tons, given the high demand for this grade, for this type of chemical with regard to COVID-19 situation. And this type of investment will also ensure security of supply for such chemical. And with those type of investments, we hope that we are advancing and supplying the key raw material for the downstream to flourish in Jubail Industrial City, inshallah. And all those three projects, as you can see from the next slide, will be housed in Jubail Industrial City 2. And that is highlighted in the plots in green from this map you see here. And this will be the location or the land that will allocate those three projects and additional more projects, inshallah, in the future, as we're planning additional investments to support our downstream. And this is in brief about the investment we talked about, and in brief about our company. And if you have any questions with regard to the presentation, the content, feel free to share. I also have put in the slides here our websites and my email address for any additional information. Thank you, and back to you, Stephen.
Thank you, Fares. Fantastic. And also it ties into what Engineer Ahmed said in the beginning. In Jubail, we're trying to build a value chain that goes all the way from the ground, all the way to final consumer products, even as sophisticated as the auto sector. And your compounding will be a key part in that value chain. I do have one question which has come in for you, and that is, could you maybe give an example of one or two opportunities for investors to work with Advanced, either as a supplier or maybe as taking some of your products?
Yes, definitely. So for certain of the certain investment we have addressed already, those investments today we are working in the project development of those investments. And if there are already investors who are thinking of the downstream of those chemicals and certain applications to support their investments, we will be happy to really start working with them and trying to fulfill their needs as part of the application, whether be it in the polypropylene or be it in the PP compounds or be it in the IPA, because with regard to IPA, there are several other intermediate chemicals, downstream chemicals that could be used for IPA, that be used from IPA. For the polypropylene, there are producers today or converters who buy materials from outside, and maybe it's an opportunity for them that they will be able to source such materials that are imported from within our new investments.
Okay, excellent. Okay, Fares, I'm going to, we've still got a little session towards the end for some additional questions if they come in, but I am going to move on to Sadara's speaker. But first, just a little bit of housekeeping. I'm going to ask the two speakers from the Jubail Royal Commission to change the order of the presentation. They'll go towards the end just after 3, and participants that want to stay for that obviously can stay. Those that need to leave will therefore leave. And I'm going to now go on straight to Rami Sabah from Sadara. And Sadara, for those of you who don't know, is a joint venture between Aramco and Dow. They have created the world's largest chemical complex ever built in a single phase, the 26 integrated world-scale manufacturing plants. And obviously, Sadara is supercharging our Plaschem park. But without further ado, Rami, are you online? I can see the presentation, Rami. Sound check. Abdullah, can you make sure Rami is unmuted?
Yes.
Hello, testing.
I can hear you now.
Okay.
So hopefully everyone can hear me by now. Assalamu alaikum. Masaakum Allah bil khair. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Rana Al-Sabah. I'm an investment leader within the business development department at Sadara Chemical Company. And today I'm going to be talking a little bit about Sadara and some of the downstream investment opportunities that are available within Plaschem using Sadara's raw materials. So to take a quick look at our agenda, I'll give you a short brief about what is Sadara and what makes it special. We'll talk about our product portfolio and how that sets us apart from some of the other local producers. We'll just very briefly remind you about Plaschem Park and put that in relation to Sadara. And then we will take a deeper look at some of the opportunities that are available using Sadara's raw materials, talk about our investment booklet, and I'll take you through one case study just to give an example. And then we'll talk about some of our current and our future investment opportunities that are available within Plaschem and within Jubail in general or Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, no, after this, I'm going to go straight. Let me just make sure I get it.
So to give you an idea about Sadara, we are an over $20 billion investment. We are the largest chemical plant ever built in a single phase. So there are larger chemical plants in the world, but they were built over multiple phases, sometimes over decades. We are the largest one ever built in one phase. Also, that sets us apart from other companies in the region. We are the only mixed feed cracker within Saudi Arabia, within the region. We are able to crack a combination of gases and liquids. So we're using feedstocks, ethane gas, and for the liquids, we're using either naphtha or natural gas. Sadara is made up of 26 world-scale plants using 14 technologies that are new to the kingdom and to the region. And every year, we are producing over 3 million tons of final product. Taking a look at one would say our most important thing is our people. We have about 3,600 employees within Sadara, and we're very proud to have about a 71% Saudization rate. We also sent about 1,700 of our employees in total to various OJT, or on-the-job training. 900 of those were out of kingdom, OJT, and an additional 800 employees were sent to various Saudi Aramco sites within the kingdom for their on-the-job training. That is also in addition to about 1,100 apprentices who were sponsored by Sadara for a 2-year diploma. Now, looking at some of our chemical products and what makes it special, once again, you can see over on the left side of your screen, most of the companies within the region, they are cracking mostly gas or ethane specifically. So from ethane, you crack it, you get some ethylene. From ethylene, you can produce polyethylene, maybe some EG and some other chemicals as well, but mostly very, let's say, commoditized, very regular polymers and chemicals. What we are able to do by cracking a combination of the ethane gas and liquids in the form of either naphtha or natural gasoline, we're able to produce all of these wonderful chemicals you can see close to the middle of your screen here. So in addition to your typical polyethylenes, we have some specialty grades of polyethylenes and elastomers as well, but we also produce the isocyanates and the polyols through very, very important ingredients or parts of the PU, or the polyurethane value chain. We also produce various kinds of amines, the ethanol and ethylene amines, propylene glycol, and then two very, very important, very valuable molecules, intermediate chemicals, the EO and the PO, or the ethylene oxide and the propylene oxide. That's also in addition to gas and some of our waste streams, which can also be used for value-added products as well. So you can see over on the bottom of your screen, actually, those are many of the applications that are supported using Sadara's raw materials or Sadara's chemicals. And many of those are, once again, the chemicals and the products are new to the kingdom. And some of these applications are applications that the strategic vision of the kingdom is pushing us towards some of these applications. So you can see things like your specialty films, once again, PU systems or polyurethane systems, very important to our economy and to the region, your oil and gas chemicals, but also some of your water treatment chemicals as well. And you can see other things such as construction chemicals, paints and coatings, adhesives and sealants, and many, many other applications as well. And hopefully, Sadara will be feeding into many of these applications in the near future. So taking a slightly more detailed look at our products, we cluster them into basically 4 different kinds of products, or 4 families, or 4 clusters, if you may. So the first is our plastics and elastomers, the different kinds of polyethylene, from the HDPE to your LDPE, your elastomers, and your LLDPE. You have your chemicals and intermediates, and that covers the amines or the amines, ethanol and ethylene amines, the propylene glycols, and then once again, very importantly, the EO and the PO. And then the third family we're talking about is the isocyanates. And those are the PMDI and the TDI, which once again are being produced within the kingdom and the region for the first time ever. So no one else within the kingdom or within the Middle East actually is producing either TDI or PMDI within their companies. Then you have the additional intermediates or the other intermediates, your pi gas, your pi oil, and also your crude C4, which is also a very valuable chemical intermediate. So we'll talk a little bit about our opportunities, the opportunities that Sadara is enabling. We're enabling them with our products, with our raw materials. These will be feeding into a lot of the downstream industry within Plaschem and within the kingdom, inshallah. So we worked with consultants to develop an investment booklet, which you can see there. You can see the QR code at the bottom left of your screen. If you scan that, that will take you directly to our investment booklet, investment opportunities booklet. So the booklet actually, or the opportunities are grouped into 4 different clusters, which we'll talk about briefly in the coming slides. And this booklet was developed as a hard copy, and once again, it's available by using the QR code online or by going to sadara.com and following the link to Plaschem Park, where you'll be able to download the full opportunity booklet. And by the way, it's available both in English and in Arabic if you prefer either language. So taking a look at the 4 clusters that are enabled or that are covered by the investment booklet. You see the first cluster is the polyurethane applications. Polyurethane applications, and you can see there that it has actually 2 separate opportunities, and we'll take a closer look at the PU or the polyurethane applications. So for those of you familiar with polyurethanes or PU, so it's a very versatile family of chemicals, essentially. And PU has many, many different applications, from flexible and rigid foams, which can be used in case of your rigid foams for insulation within your refrigerators, your air conditioners, flexible foams within your furniture, your car seats and others, within mattresses, for example. It's used in furniture, automotive, construction, many, many different applications in many different industries that are using polyurethanes in one form or another. And our booklet covers actually 2 separate case studies, the polyurethane system house, or the PU system house, which we'll talk about in the next slide, and your PU insulation foam. And these are foams that are used for insulation of homes, of office buildings, of warehouses, of any kind of building, essentially, that uses insulation. And 2 of the very important industries that are enabled by the polyurethanes and our chemicals and our raw materials in polyurethanes are the flexible foams and the adhesives and sealants. And these have actually been identified by NIDLIP as very important industries. So the key Sadara products being used within the PU clusters are obviously our PMDI, our TDI, and our polyols as well. Now taking a slightly closer look at the systems house, taking a closer look at the systems house. A systems house is actually one very important step of the PU chain. So looking at your right side of the screen, where the crude oil is processed into naphtha, the naphtha is cracked into some of the raw materials that will then produce our isocyanates. So Sadara is actually this sort of box here, or this circle right here, the PU raw material producer, that is Sadara. So then a systems house comes in and to take, for example, the PMDI and the TDI and the polyols that we are using, it creates what we call a system, which is basically a specialized mixture of polyurethane. And then that specialized system moves on to the component manufacturer, who may be manufacturing a foam seat for a car, or a foam for a mattress, or a dashboard for a car, once again, or some of the wheels used even on a skateboard. And those then go to the end application. The end application could be automotive, could be a car, could be your home, could be the installation within your refrigerator, for example. So you can see how the systems house plays a very important role within that PU chain, let's say. And you can see over to the left side of your screen the different applications that are supported by a PU systems house. So PU systems house can support furniture industry, the automotive industry, packaging, construction, and what we call case, which are the coatings, adhesives, sealants, and elastomers. It's a very, very important family within the PU family. Now, taking a look at one of the case studies that's available within the investment booklet, once again, is the polyurethane system house, or the PU systems house. And you can see this is an example that's taken directly from the booklet. So once again, the PU systems house, it's in this case, the system house can be one of two kinds essentially. It can be a specialized, a smaller system house, which is for specialized applications, or the case that we will cover for today is actually a more generic or a more general system house, which can cover various applications. So a system house like this would be able to cover, for example, automotive, furniture, and other industries all at once. Or you can go for a smaller system house, which is more specialized within one or two industries or one or two applications. So if you talk about a capacity for a system house, a capacity of 25 to 30,000 tons per year, you're looking at an approximate investment of about $35 to $40 million of a capex. The technology is generally available from some technology providers, and very important, you'll see the key raw materials. And as you can see here, the isocyanates and polyols, which are essentially the two main raw materials used within your system house, those are provided by Sadara. In case it's the PMD from Sadara. Some other raw materials, which are usually in smaller composition or percentage within the composition, are available. Some of them are available locally, or they can be imported from international producers as well. But the main raw materials are actually both those isocyanates and the polyols, which once again, Sadara is producing for the first time within the Middle East. So you can also see that there's actually a healthy market demand. Worldwide, you're talking about 5.1 million tons. And then even within the Middle East, about 335,000 tons per year, as well as there's a healthy growth rate as well. So this is one example of the case studies that are available within the investment booklet. And that investment booklet has a total of about 14 different investment opportunities. Looking at the second cluster talks about chemicals for paints and coatings and solvents and other cleaning products as well. So you have 4 different case studies within the booklet. We'll take a closer look at that cluster here. So basically what we're saying is many of our raw materials or many of the chemicals that we produce are building blocks, or they're raw materials used within the paint and coatings or solvents industries. So chemicals like our BGE and PG can be used within this cluster. So the case studies, there's once again 4 of those case studies: the BGE esters, propylene glycol esters, and the PGME, as well as your isopropanolamines. And once again, going back to NIDLIP and the guidance or the strategy put in by NIDLIP, one of the important industries that's being supported by this specific cluster are the surfactants. And the key Sadara products used within this cluster are the PG, or propylene glycol, and the BGE. Moving on to our third cluster, which is the chemicals intermediates, that has a total of 3 separate case studies within it. We'll take a slightly closer look here. So many of these, or some of these, are chemical intermediates that are used in the either water treatment or oil and gas industries. And with those case studies, I actually cover 3 of them: MDEA for gas treatment, DMEA and its derivatives, which are used in the water treatment industry, and then some of your ethylenamines and its derivatives. So once again, one of the key industries that's been targeted by NIDLIP and which is supported by these intermediate chemicals are the oil field chemicals. We've already seen actually some good investments, some significant investments from some worldwide or global big name players within the oil field chemicals industry. The key Sadara products that are used within the chemical intermediates are our EDA, our DETA, and once again our EO, or our ethylene oxide. Looking at our 4th cluster and the final cluster for today and for the investment booklet are the polymers applications, and that has actually 1 case study. But it's very important to note that Sadara will produce about 30 different grades of polyethylene and elastomers that are used in a variety of applications. So you've got your typical applications, and you have some of your more specialized applications like your hygiene films, your performance stretch films, and others. And some of those also, once again, are unique to Sadara within the region. So the 1 case study that's being covered within this booklet are the polymer extrusion and molding for medical and pharmaceutical uses for the disposables. So you'll find some of those medical disposables or the pharmaceutical disposables that are one-time use. Those can be supported by some of Sadara's polyethylene grades. Once again, going back to NIDLIP and the countries or the kingdom's strategy, This is enabled, or Sadara is enabling one of those important strategies, which is the medical and pharmaceutical applications. Once again, the important products being produced by Sadara are your typical polyethylene and elastomer grades. So business is really nothing without the right collaborations, without the right teamwork. So we work very closely with our colleagues at Royal Commission, obviously, because they are the owners of Glasgow Park, they are the owners and maintainers of Glasgow Park. So we work very closely with them, but we also work very closely with many government and semi-government agencies, like Wizard al-Taqa, the Ministry of Energy, MISA, the Ministry of Investment, and also other semi-government entities like the industrial clusters and SIDF, or the Saudi Industrial Development Fund. Also, a very important enabler of industry within the kingdom right now is ICTFA. And this is the Saudi Aramco program for localization, and now the government also has a similar localization program. So we work very closely with all of these entities, with all of these organizations, just to ensure that to drive investment into Glasgow and make sure that the investor is fully supported from all angles. Let's take a quick look at some of the committed investors. You can see about 8 already committed investments within Glasgow Park. So the first one is actually the Ravago plant, which has been up and running since the second quarter of 2008. But you also see some coating additives and many of the EO, PO, and derivatives. Once again, those ethylene oxide and propylene oxide, those are some very valuable molecules. So you'll see many of those investments are actually along the EO, PO value chain. And also you'll see many of those on the right side, the names of some of the bigger players that are invested already within Glasgow. So you see Halliburton and Baker Hughes, the 2 oilfield giants, but also Veolia, the French waste management company, and also Ravago, which is invested and which is up and running since 2018. Now, taking a look at some of the targeted investments, and these are the investments that we consider are strategically important, not only to Glasgow, but to the kingdom as a whole. So you see some additional EO/PO derivatives, but very important, near the middle of your screen are the NDI and PU. And those are actually both PU or polyurethane-based systems. So once again, the system house and the PU derivatives, we consider those as very important strategically to Glasgow, to many of the other further downstream industries that will come hopefully once those are built, as well as some others. So you can take a look at some of the PE specialty and also the BGE derivatives that such as your auto brake fluids. And once again, that list is not exhaustive, but these are the industries or the investments that we consider are strategically important and also are quite attractive as well. So that takes us actually to our vision. So investing in Glasgow, having the raw material nearby, not only from Sadara, but from SABIC, from within Jubail, and also being able to import from outside, and having Glasgow as the important, let's say, the cornerstone of the downstream industry, hopefully in the future, rather than seeing your products, consumer products being made in the US, made in the EU, or made in China, our vision for the future is most of those products will be made in Saudi Arabia. So with that, I'd like to thank you. I hope you found the presentation interesting. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask right now, or you can reach out to us on our email, investment@sadara.com. And I also urge you to visit our website, www.sadara.com, for some additional information, as well as the investment booklet itself.
Thank you, Ravi. We do have a question in, which is a fairly specific one. You may want to answer it partly in private, later through email, and maybe a little bit now. But Coperion is located very close to you in Jubail. And of course, they are a service center as well as a manufacturer of extruders and that. Is there business opportunities for them with you?
For Coperion, if this person from that's asking is from Coperion, I would urge them to take it offline. They can contact us through the email, and we'll discuss this offline. But whether it's for Coperion or for anyone else, we can always discuss possible collaborations. In general, we are a chemical producer, a raw material producer. So if they want to offer us a service, that's something we would certainly take offline. If they would need raw material from us, that's also something that would probably interest both of us as well.
Thank you, Rami. Yeah, I think it's better for the two businesses to do a direct business-to-business one on that. But I threw it up. I'm going to skip two of our Royal Commission speakers and then put them at the end, just because of the timing, and that will allow those that absolutely have to go soon to be able to go. But I'm hoping most of you will stay until the end of our two Royal Commission speakers, because they will talk about some specific opportunities with a draft business case, which are here in Jubail, and I think you'll find that very interesting. But anyway, I'm going to go now straight to Ali Sharif from Yanbu. I'm looking for his slides to pull up.
Yes, with you.
It's okay. So Ali, yeah. Okay, here you go.
Did you see my slides?
Yes, I can. And Ali is, of course, he's working full-time in Yanbu Industrial City, which is another Royal Commission city. He's going to talk about downstream investment opportunities over there. Ali's a chemical engineer and an industrial cluster specialist with the Royal Commission. So over to you, Ali.
Thank you, Stephen. First of all, I would like to begin by thanking you to attend this webinar. Let's start the presentation. Let's get started with a glance for Yanbu Industrial City. In fact, Yanbu is located in the west coast of Saudi Arabia in the Red Sea region. Indeed, Yanbu has the largest oil shipping complex in the Red Sea, and it's the third largest crude oil refining hub worldwide. And the total industrial investment around 300 billion Saudi riyal over 40 years, with 21% foreign direct investments. Moving to Yanbu Master Plan. Actually, 10 years ago was the total area about 186 kilometers square. Then due to the economic growth and some new projects coming to Yanbu, the industrial area has been expanded up to 606 kilometers square. Most of these industrial lands are well developed with competitive lease price. It's around $1.2 per meter square. In addition to that, we have a strong and reliable infrastructure of over 40 years experience. In matter of fact, there are several components which are upholding Yanbu value proposition: a developed society, world-class infrastructure, developed lands, and availability of raw materials. Now I would like to look at Yanbu key figures features. Regarding to the electricity, Yanbu has the total electricity capacity of 2,233 megawatts, and it's provided by Marafiq company. These electricity have different lines connected to industrial facilities, including high voltage, medium voltage, and low voltage. And it's transmitted to the investor based on his requirements. Also, I would like to mention that RC has excellent standard for electricity transmission. Moving to another feature, our industrial city have all of gas facility, including natural gas, oxygen, nitrogen, hydrogen. And now one of the main players in the city for these industrial gases is Air Liquide company. With regard to water network, we have perfect facility of water network distributed to the plants, including 6 types of waters. And as you can see here, irrigation water, industrial wastewater, seawater cooling, industrial process water, potable water, and sewage. And it's provided also by Marafiq company as well. Concerning to our investment opportunities, we are targeted 7 clusters. I'm going to focus on 3 of them, which are petrochemical industry, glass-chem, and rubber industries. In fact, Yanbu has around 200 industries in the city. And as you can see here in the master plan, the location for petrochemical, where the land area is 39 kilometers square. 58 of these industries are primary and secondary, and 150 light and support industries. Also, I would like to mention that we have 4 refineries in the city, which are Aramco Refinery, Aramco NGL, Samref, and Yasref Company. As I mentioned before, we are the 3rd largest crude oil refining hub with production capacity about 131 million ton per year. Regarding to the Blaskin Park, 40 opportunities had been created to improve and support this cluster. So as you can see in the master plan, the Blaskin Park location, where the land area is 14 kilometers square. Well, most of polymers used in plastic industries are available in Yanbu, and it's provided by these 4 companies in the left side, Yanbit, Yansab, Iberrushd, and Natbit. And as you can see here in the bar chart, in the right side, it's illustrate different types of plastic products with production capacity in kiloton per year here in Yanbu. And we have around 20 plastic companies here in the city. Moving to the Blaskin project opportunities, this table explains details of each opportunities along with manpower of the project, capex of the project, raw materials used, demand growth, and area needed. Apart from this, injection molding, which can be performed with a host of materials including metals, glasses, elastomers, and most commonly thermoplastics and thermosetting polymers. Most raw materials used for manufacturing injection molding plastics are available in Yanbu as well. Moreover, non-woven fibers is another example of our opportunities, and the raw materials to produce it are available as well, and mainly used for hygiene applications, medical applications, and industrial applications. Now let's move to the last topic, the rubber industries. Actually, the rubber industries is one of the highest priorities in Yanbu city, where we have allocated 38 hectares for the project. Furthermore, the feedstock include BBR, SPR, EBDM, IRR, and carbon black. These raw materials are produced in Kimia company in Jubail. And as an initiative from SABIC supporting rubber downstream industries in Yanbu city, we have promised by SABIC team that they will provide the raw materials free of logistic cost if there is an investor interested in rubber projects. So as you can see here in the value chain, the investment opportunities, including tires and mixing and compounding, and coming from molding, extrusion, sheets, and this is the derivatives and applications, gaskets, wire and cable, industrial hoses, and conveyor belts. To support this cluster, ready manufacturing buildings has been built by Royal Commission as a big incentive for investor. In fact, the project is located in the light industrial area in front of Yasref company, surrounded by loading area and parking area. And it's include all basic needs. Here it's a bird eye view of the ready manufacturing buildings, including all of basic needs, offices, and so on. And here's some details about the project. The area of the project is 38 hectares, containing 38 buildings, and the average height is 8.4 meters. And these 38 buildings divided into 3 types based on the area. Type A, including 6 buildings with 2,280 meters square. Type B, including 16 buildings with 1,845 meters square. And the final one, type C, including 16 buildings as well with 1,280 meters square. finally, thank you for listening. Hope give you a brief about Yanbu City. And if you are interested to see our investment opportunities and our pre-feasibility studies, just open the link in the left side, or you can contact me directly through phones or my email. Thank you for listening.
Perfect, Ali. And as participants can see, you can now communicate straight with Ali with your questions. And so I'll leave it at that. There was a late question that came in for Sadara, and I'm wondering if Rami is still online. But if he is, it was a question, just a quick one. It was just, are the 26 plants in operation, or are they under construction? Rami, are you there? Okay, I'll actually answer the question. I mean, they are now complete. And I'm going to move on to a next speaker from the Royal Commission City of Jazan. And it's Salim Juhani. He is a mechanical engineer. I'm looking to see his presentation come up on the screen. He's currently the business development manager for Jubail, Yanbu, and of course is covering Jazan. I can see Salim now. Salim, previous to the Royal Commission, worked as a lecturer at the University of Colorado in the United States. Salim, can you test your audio?
Hello, Mr. Joseph. Thank you for the nice introduction. I'm not sure if you guys can see my screen.
Okay, I can. Oh, yeah, that's perfect. That's fine. I think we can all see it now.
Thank you. Well, first and foremost, I would like to thank those who prepared very well for this webinar. And I'm very happy to introduce Jazan City for Primary and Downstream Industries, JCPDI, to our audience. We'll go, I will skip the first part, why the Royal Commission, because our colleagues in other cities have done a pretty good job in doing that. I'll move to Jazan City for Primary and Downstream Industries overview and Jazan current and future opportunities. So Jazan is located in the Red Sea, and it is a well-known fact that over 15% of the global trade passes through the Red Sea, and Jazan has been located there to fulfill the requirements and ambitions of Vision 2030, along with tapping into the Chinese Belt and Road initiatives, as well as introducing the kingdoms and the GCC to the African market, the Horn of Africa or Eastern Africa. I've spoken about the position, and this is the Silk Road initiative that is being developed by the Chinese government. And it is well suited for JCPDI to capture some of that traffic flow to serve as a logistic hub or an export hub. As a matter of fact, Jazan ambition is to be the largest export hub in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. We can tap into the African market, we can tap to the Asian market, and we can tap as well to the European market. We know that some resources or feed stock or raw material are being shipped from Yanbu, for example, all the way back to China, being processed, and then they are reshipped to the European markets. So we can save some of that cost and better position ourselves to take that feedstock, for example, from Yanbu through a feeder to Jazan, and then process that and send it back to either Europe, North America, or the Eastern African market. Yes, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now. Okay, excellent. Okay, continue.
I apologize for the technical issue. I'll continue. Thank you very much. Perfect. So what are the competitive advantage or advantages of JCPDI, it is connected to a highway and potentially a new airport that is being constructed within 19 kilometers of the city. And the potential of that is to connect that to a railroad that connects Jeddah to Yanbu to Jazan, and the airport will serve as an international airport. JCPDI is building, and it's almost 90% finished with constructing JCPDI's port, industrial port, and it will be the first port that is run by the Royal Commission. To better position ourselves, we are developing a special economic zone, or better known as a free trade zone, that will focus on metals and food processing, metal conversions, for example. Some of the incentives will be importing and re-exporting duty exemptions, gradual Saudization implementation. We will adhere to international commercial and trade laws for any disputes, no corporate tax, and 100% foreign ownership and control over profit. Metals can be imported from the Eastern African market. For example, bauxite to convert it to alumina, or from Australia, we can import copper to produce cables, for example. So what is being done in Jazan? In Jazan, beside the special economic zone that is focused on food processing and metal conversions, overall the city is focused on food processing, petrochemical cluster, metal and conversions, and appliances, equipment and appliances. So we have roughly 24 billion US dollars of investments in the city that will provide over 7,000 jobs in the next few years. Some of our in operation facilities are Solb Steel, which produces steel. Stefco is downstream of Solb Steel. We have Crystal, or Advanced Metal Industrial Cluster. We have the largest sugar plant or sugar processing plant in the Middle East, that are known as a Reef refinery that is under construction. We have the Aramco refinery complex that is being constructed, and a few others that focus on food processing or metal conversions. For the petrochemical cluster, we have our biggest opportunity is to utilize benzene, and some other feedstock like paraxylene has been taken by the investor Pan Asia to produce PTE and PTA resin. So benzene, combining that with shale gas that is not being produced at the moment in the city, we can produce styrene, polystyrene, nylon, solvents, acetone, and phenol. For the metal and minerals cluster, we can, as our closest metal or mineral reserve is about 300 kilometers by road. In addition to that, we can import metals and minerals from the rich African market and process it in JCPDI. The non-metallic product demand is expected to raise about 150% in the kingdom by the year 2050. Iron and steel demand is a bit less than 300% increase in demand by 2050 in the kingdom. And there is a 175 semi-finished product, metal products, that will increase in demand in the kingdom by the year 2050. For the food processing cluster, there is a large focus in Jazan on this cluster because the kingdom market is expected to grow at about 500% in demand for meat by the year 2050, a little bit less than 500 for fish. Fruit and vegetables are about to increase in demand by about 200% by the year 2050. and along with other products. Some of our investment opportunities will be carbs farming or processing, meat processing, mangoes. We have over 750,000 mango trees in Jazan that are yet to be processed and are sold in the raw material market for very cheap prices. Our equipment and electronic cluster will utilize the metal converted from the metals and minerals cluster to produce, for example, valves and pumps, oil and gas equipment to fulfill that supply chain. We can tap into the chip manufacturing. For example, the demand for TVs in the kingdom will increase. There are about 80,000 new rooms, hotel rooms being constructed in the kingdom that is coming up by the year 2022, and we expect that to just increase. That was our humble presentation. Thank you very much for giving us the opportunity, and we would like to hear your questions, if there are any. Thank you.
Thank you ever so much, Salim. Again, and this seems to be a very standard question. What are the opportunities that you see, the key opportunities for investors who are not yet in Jazan to come? Would it be in food processing? Would it be in some of the petrochemical ones that you've mentioned? Maybe you could highlight one or two areas where you're really keen to find some new investors.
We're keen to utilize our special economic zone. We have developed a business case, and it is in the Council of Ministers pending for approval at the moment. We would like to tap in and utilize that special economic zone and give our investors some incentives that make us competitive in the region. In the food processing cluster, metal conversion cluster, we are speaking with some of the alumina processing facilities. We're looking to tap into a smelter. It could be an aluminum smelter. It could be a copper smelter. That would help to produce these downstream industries or products in the special economic zone. We can do meat processing. We can bring or import some of the feedstock like meat and vegetable products, fruits products from Africa, process them in JCPDI, along with utilizing the Red Sea fish processing and shrimp farming as well.
Perfect, Salim. What special incentives are you applying for in the free trade zone that might help investors come?
I will pull back again to that presentation slide so everyone can look at that. So you can see the incentives in the screen. The most important to our investor, there will be no corporate tax. So zero corporate tax, no import or re-export duties, that is free of charge. And the Saudization program will not be the same as in other cities in the kingdom. We will develop a very lean and gradual Saudization implementation program that would help our investors secure the best labor costs, along with solving disputes, if there are any in the future, through the international commercial and trade laws. On top of that, a special economic zone is technically outside of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. So every expert, if you are to bring experts for your facility or to do business trades or business deals, they don't have to apply for visa to come into JCPDI. They can just come through there and get their instant visa.
Perfect, Salim. Thank you ever so much. And a free trade zone is certainly something new to Saudi Arabia, and it's exciting that you're about to get one. I'm going to now switch over to our two Royal Commission now switch over to our two Royal Commission engineers here in Jubail, Engineer Ali Al-Fajri and Mohammed Shamri, to start their slightly delayed presentation. I noticed that most of the participants that started with us are still with us. I would urge you to hang on there because actually engineers Al-Fajri and Shamri have some very good investor opportunities linked into real business cases, which they would like to share with you. Okay, Ali.
Assalamu alaikum. Good afternoon, gentlemen. I would like to thank you to be with us in this webinar. Today I will come over the Blaskem and the type of opportunities in a Blaskem park. But before that, I would like to come over the why and how we are adopting the Blaskem park opportunities. In this slide, I will give a brief overview of how RCJ has developing the downstream and creating opportunities. In 1975 up to 2010, actually, our focus was in petrochemical industry and especially in the primary and secondary, which is considered as upstream. As you can see it, also this is how Jubail industry flow chart and how we are integrated in the upstream industry, which is relaying in oil and gas as a feedstock. And mainly it was exported as a commodity resin and chemicals. After 2010, and gradually we are moved upward the downstream industry and more added value and integrated product streams to create more investment and job opportunities. This slide also show you from the gas and oil and refineries up to petrochemical basic blocks and basic resin and the specialty chemicals, it's come the Blaskem park opportunities. What's the Blaskem park? Blaskem park, it is a concept of plastic and chemicals. It's not only a Blaskem or a park, it is an ecosystem, give a strength of connectivity and integration, capturing synergies, maximizing the strength, optimize the economics, and increase the efficiency. This is the location of the Blaskem park with the 12 square kilometer. It is in Jubail 2, south of Sadara and Sata. Blaskem park opportunities, we are screening more than 100 opportunities to implement and enhance and attract the attractive and implementable opportunities. And we got by our Kearney 50 attractive and implementable opportunities. The category of the Blaskem park and the classification consists of 3 types of categories. As Mr. Jose, he is answering one question and he gave a quick answer regarding the classification. The first one is conversion opportunities, and the second one is formulation opportunities, and the third one is organic synthesis. The conversion classification is where the plastic are modified in shape or form to produce usable products, such as the hoses, the bags, the bottles, rigid form, etc. The formulation where the mixing are available, even the mixing is with chemical reaction or with physical reaction. And the organic synthesis, where the chemical reaction are happened and it needs more utility such as steam or such as the industrial gases. A.T. Kearney have identified this investment project opportunities in which both are attractive and implementable. My colleagues, engineer Mohammed Al-Shammari, he will come over 6 opportunities to give you overview about these opportunities. Here you are, Mr. Mohammed.
Well, thank you, Ali. Assalamu alaikum. Greetings, gentlemen. Let me share my presentation.
That looks good.
Yeah, okay. So as Engineer Dali just mentioned, the study identified 50 implementable investment opportunities in the Glasgow Park in Jubail Industrial City, divided into 3 main segments: the conversion and formulation and organic synthesis. We will have a quick look on some examples of these investment opportunities in the Glasgow with a high level of information. So we will start with the conversion sector. The first is the industrial drums and containers. Industrial drums includes containers from 5 gallons to 55 gallons in size. They are larger than 15 gallons, while tight head pails are smaller than 15 gallons. They are used to transport and store a wide range of items such as agricultural products, powders, foodstuffs, and chemicals. Raw material required is the high-density polyethylene, which is produced in Jubail Industrial City. An investment of 56 million Saudi riyal is required to set up a 5 kiloton per annum facility. These numbers are estimated by the study. This facility is expected to employ 30 employees, and the land area required is 3 hectares. Main uses and applications of the industrial drums and containers are the lubricants and additives, chemicals, paint and coating. Next one is the thermoplastic engineering compound. Includes a group of plastics that can be heated and reformed several times. The common engineered plastics include nylon and polycarbonate, polyacetal, and polyesters. They have a wide range of application, including electronics and electrical industries, automotive, and consumer goods. The raw materials required are high-density polyethylene, low-density polyethylene, polypropylene, and polyvinyl chloride. They all produced in Jubail Industrial City. An investment of 345 million Saudi riyal is required to set up a 23 kiloton per annum facility. The facility is expected to employ 80 employees. Land area required is 12 hectare. And the main uses and applications are the construction applications, automotive sector, and packaging. Now we'll shift to the formulation segment, and we start with the inks. They include the variety of application like the lithographic, flexographic, gravure, and others. These products are sold to commercial printers, newspaper, and magazine printers. In addition, this segment also includes inks manufactured for industrial uses like textile and packaging. Raw materials required are carbon black, titanium dioxide, colorants and dyes, vendors including acrylics, solvents, and additives. An investment of 56 million Saudi riyal is required to set up a 10 kiloton per annum facility. And this facility is expected to employ 65 employees, and the land area required is 6.7. And as I mentioned, the uses and applications for this type of project for the industrial sectors and consumer goods. The other one is the personal care products. The market of the personal care products are a wide and range market, comprised of baby and child-specific products, bath and shower, oral hygiene, skincare, and others many applications. Raw material required for this type of project is alcohol, ethoxylate, acrylic acid, ethoxylate, ethanolamine, linear alpha olefins, natural gums, and natural extracts. An investment of 187 million Saudi riyal is required to set up a facility. manufacturing 60 million units. This facility is expected to employ 150 employees, and the land area required is an 8 hectare. Main uses and applications again is the bath and shower, color cosmetics, and oral care. Last segment is the organic synthesis. First opportunity is the dithiocarbamate. The uses range from protection of rubbers to specialized lube additives and oil field application, with the latter being the more profitable consuming category. Raw materials are dimethylamine, carbon disulfide, sodium hydroxide. The carbon disulfide and sodium hydroxide might be required to produce different types of dithiocarbamate. Investment of 187 million Saudi riyal is required to set up a 10 kiloton per annum facility. The employment for this facility is expected to be 40 employees, and the land area required is 1.6. Main uses and applications of these opportunities are the fungicides, synthetic rubbers, and lube additives. Acrylic acid, product manufactured by the oxidation of acrolein. Acrylic acid is an intermediate product used to produce final products like esters, super absorbent polymers, and detergents. It can also be used as an end product in applications like water treatment. Raw materials required are propene, acrolein, and acetylene. The investment of 937 million Saudi riyal is required to set up a 160 kiloton per annum facility. This facility expected to hire an employment of 350 employees, and the land area required for this facility is 14 hectares. Main uses and application for this opportunity is a water treatment application, super absorbent polymers products, and esters products. This was a quick overview of some examples of Blaskem investment opportunities. And please, if you do not hesitate to contact us, Royal Commission in Jubail, our department, to know more about the Blaskem investment opportunities and other opportunities in the city. Thank you so much.
Perfect. Okay, Mohammed, I'm going to just take one question, which I just saw come in, and then I think we'll have to close. So, it's disappeared. Okay. Anyway, a question came in and then it disappeared. So I think that is a sign that we do really need to close the webinar. Thank you ever so much for everybody's participation. Those of you that did stay, and 2/3 of the participants that started with us are still here. So thank you ever so much for hanging in there. There's a lot of investment opportunities there in different parts of Saudi Arabia to chew on. And of course, you can come back to us with your questions and your ideas, and we'll route them through to the right part of the speakers. Many thanks for your participation, and we're going to close now. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.